Let's go. If you're not feeling this, then you're not feeling anything at all. Welcome to Crude. It's Sunday. I apologize for the late start. Sunday is usually the time where you actually spend quality family time. And exactly that is what we was doing. But thank you so much for joining me. Real quick, we'll just speed that up into a compressed conversation, but highly, not just intellectual, but highly edutaining as well. You know how we do it on Sundays, though. So tell everyone that right here, right now, right here, Danny Constant is on. So all you have to do is just listen. My guest today is Momar Njai. He is an investor, an author, and someone that is a tech enthusiastic. Let me use that word as well. So he's definitely joining us right here this evening, or pretty much afternoon, wherever he is at this particular time. But I want to say thank you so much. But happy new month to each and every one of you. If we haven't spoken already, but I wish you a blissful one. So let's get started and see where Mr. Moore is at this particular point. It's 2020, people. Stay safe. How do we do? Ooh, yes, Jeff. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for. I know. I just have to steal you for a while. You have so much. You certainly have so much going on at this particular point.
No worries at all. I really appreciate you having me on. I'm excited about this, and thanks to all of your followers that tuned in as well. It'll be fun.
No, let me get started. What is your Sunday like?
Oh man, my Sundays actually, I relax a little bit in the mornings, but I spend a lot of time late evenings getting ready for the week. I like to plan ahead.
Yeah.
So Sunday evenings can be pretty stressful because I'm planning out for the week, quite frankly. So Saturday is really the only day I really have just to chill. But the rest of the Sunday, usually I'm busy getting ready for the week ahead.
Okay, so you're that kind of you're my type, because I don't do things honestly. Like I love to plan. I need to know exactly what's going to happen. How is that change going to eventually affect me?
Yes.
So
Exactly.
I certainly like that. But guys, briefly, this is Mr. Momar Njai. Like I told you earlier, he is someone that we need to follow. If you're not following him on social media, his handle is right there. Go up and get yourself informed. It's very important. There's also a short bio. I had to just summarize a little bit of the bio. You could read it as well as to his journey and how far he has certainly come. But just to get started, to you, what's that untold story behind your exile? I know it you know, you in your bio it talks a little bit about, you know, how you left the country in '94, you know, based on the new regime and all of the shortcomings and those happenings. Now, what's the other part that you don't really tell us? If you are
Of course.
out to tell us.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot for sure. I did try to tell as much as I could in the book Shadows of Exile, as you mentioned.
Yes.
But I think what I haven't told as much, or people don't really have a good appreciation for, was how difficult it really was to be able to adjust to this new life in exile in the US, right? So my family did well, as you know. We had a lot of money and stuff back in Gambia. We were pretty well known, etc. But adjusting to a new life where everything is kind of stripped from you almost immediately, and you're having to kind of find yourself and really what defines you when you go from having everything to having nothing. And I think sometimes people see things on the surface after I emerged, 23 years later, and it looks really, really easy. But quite frankly, that's the untold story, which I really felt needed to be told,
Yeah.
is that it's really a difficult journey and it's not as easy as it looks. And everyone has a story, it's going to take some time to kind of get there. But people see the success, your career, and all this other stuff, but they don't always fully appreciate what it really took to get there and how difficult it was. So I wanted to make sure that was told, which is why I went ahead and read the book, Shadows of Exile, Return of the African King.
So we'll get eventually into a little details of the book. I'm quite it's quite fascinating how, because I was expected it to be a book where it certainly just goes direct as you knew. So this is my life, this is what I did, and and just the norm, just like
Yeah.
so people just some sort of an autobiography type of thing.
Hmm.
But you gave it depth, you gave it creativity. It's a story, and I somehow tried to find you in there, but every time I was distracted or taken away by the other characters and so many other things that were going on the board. We'll eventually talk about it. So, guys, it's Shadows of Exile. You could go to his bio on Instagram. It's on Twitter as well, right there, or www.shadowsofexile.com. I'm putting that right there on the bottom as well, so you can check it out. But what was the craziest thing that happened when you got to the US as the journey just come?
Wow. So a lot of crazy things happened, first of all. But secondly, I had been to the US a couple of times before the whole situation happened, and how different it really was this time around. So when I was in the US previously, I basically was just on vacation. I had this 30-day pass with, I think it was Delta Airlines at the time, to be able to fly to any state that you wanted and things like that. They don't even have those things anymore. And I was just having a great time as a young kid, enjoying my vacation and stuff, right? But when I got back in the exile situation, it was very different. It was not a vacation anymore. It was like, this is my life moving forward. It was very changed. No money, no identity, and just having to start all over. So it was pretty scary. That was like the craziest thing, and just kind of being hit by reality that, yes, I've been here before, but it's a very, very different thing. Being used to people taking care of stuff for us, as I mentioned earlier, we did pretty well as a family.
Yes.
But here's a silly thing, for example. I was in shock when I went to New York at the dry cleaning downstairs because, you have to wash your clothes, right? So when I was here on vacation, as you know, people took care of that for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, now, so you've been here, now you got to go wash your clothes. Like, what do I do? They're like, oh, just go downstairs to the laundry man. Like, guess what, Danny? I had never done laundry ever in my life before, period. So, yeah, you know how it goes back home. We got spoiled, right? So I'm at the laundromat. I'm just like, okay, looking at people, trying to figure out, okay, what to do. And I'm trying to make it seem like I really know what I'm doing, but I really don't. So I'm trying to make an observation, like how people wash their clothes and stuff. Again, I'd never really done it before. And I observed this lady kind of put, the soap in the washing machine. She put some bleach in. She put the soap in. I'm like, okay, I got this. So I went ahead and did the same thing. I put all the bleach in all my colored clothes, and when I opened it up 30 minutes later, I see all these rainbow colors come out. It was pretty, it was pretty crazy, man. But just that reality is like I had no idea like about chores and how to do anything, quite frankly. And the reality hit me is like, hey, I'm gonna have to get used to this new life, and what I had back home in Gambia is very different now, and I'm gonna have to figure things out. So that was pretty scary actually when I first moved out here.
So now I think I'll have to stress a little bit on that as well. I said the male child in Gambia isn't really prepared for life outside the country as to taking care of me. I mean, just the chores, the laundry, the cooking, basically just handling a home.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Like we as men in Gambia are very pampered. You're considered as you're taken as a king. And
Yes.
no one really tells you that, yo, once you cross the shores of this space,
That's it.
you have to be on your own. You need to be able to take care of that. But as old as we get, or the older we get, is this things that at this way at this cultures, attitudes that we somewhat need to instill in young people? Like, just tell them, look, it's okay to have a maid in Gambia. It's okay to have someone drive you somewhere, or it's okay. always for someone to actually cook your meal and that's like, but you equally need to learn this skill.
Absolutely, you're right. Because even during the times that my mom did kind of hint towards those things, as a kid, I even heard all those things, and quite frankly, I dismissed a lot of it. In my mind, I was thinking, well, if that's the case, you want me to learn how to cook or do my own stuff, then
Mm-hmm.
why do we have two or three maids around the house? In my, young mental kind of mindset.
True.
But you're right, and I think with the young youth that are out there, I think they do need to learn how to do these basic things, especially for the males. It's not just about like going to school and playing soccer and other things. Like you have to learn basic things because eventually, like you said, when you leave and you find yourself in a different country, you're going to have a hard time adjusting if you don't know how to do those things. So yeah, definitely.
That is crazy though. But what to you? What's been your craziest moment as a migrant in America?
Wow. Again, a few crazy ones. Definitely the moment that I realized that I basically had to sort of let go of my previous identity that I sort of had known all my life, right? Getting used to that lifestyle and who I was in Gambia and my family and all this other stuff, right? To really becoming someone else in the US, essentially living life in the shadows and basically admitting to the fact that I didn't exist as a person anymore because, again, I was living in the shadows. But basically, just to translate that for you guys, that
True.
means that you're an undocumented immigrant in the US. You have no identity, you have no paperwork, you can't really be out there, you can't get a driver's license, a bank account, you can't really exist, you can't do even a regular job, you can't go to school. And the more I kind of learned about that process, the more I realized how scary it was for me as a person because, again, it was very different from what I was used to. And that moment just sat still for a while. It's like, oh my God, I'm basically no one, right? But at the same time, it kind of inspired me to try to make something out of myself and do whatever it took to try to make myself something at some point down the road. And that's what I try to do. And it was a good motivation. So I try to take the negative aspect of that and just kind of staying the course. And it took some time to get there eventually to be able to find myself as well. And what I realized in the process was that I wasn't really defined by all the things that I had because for the most part that was all taken care of or provided by my family, my dad, etc. But it wasn't until I really got here before I realized that okay, all that stuff really didn't mean anything. It was up to me to really set my own course and really figure out exactly what it is that I was made of and try to define myself. And it took some time, a lot of years, a lot of frustration, lots of ups and downs, a lot of obstacles, a lot of doors getting closed in your face. And trust me, it's not easy without an identity, right? If you think about it, you're going to run a basic errand, you need a driver's license. You go to a bank, you need an identity. If you don't have an identity, you don't really exist. Imagine there's 20 million people in the U.S., for example, that don't have an identity, right? As you can imagine, and it's hard for those people. Like right now, we're going through the crisis with COVID and stuff like that. It's bad enough for everyone else, but imagine people living in the shadows that don't even have an identity to get healthcare and so on and so forth. So that's why I did dedicate the book, quite frankly, to those in the shadows. It's like those that live in the shadows of America and other countries, because I was there. I can feel their pain. I know exactly what they're going through, and I just hope that my story does help inspire other people as well to keep the course and keep going and never really give up.
Beautiful. Now, before I move into a fun segment that we have, how Gambian are you? Uh, I know, some people end up being memes just from that
Yeah.
segment. Someone literally is not talking to me because they feel like I was mean to their friend. And
Oh wow.
it's like, why would you be asking how those hard questions? I'm like, listen, I'm a nice person, but it just comes with a job. But do you feel fulfilled now? When I say that, is because it just in your biography you talk about how you started off with nothing and becoming a project manager. Do you know what I'm saying? At Apple, as a company, at the prestigious companies such as Apple. Now, that some way somehow brings weight to and kind of gives a tap. It's like a tap on your shoulder. It's like, yo, man, you've come this far. Like you feel like you have achieved something. Like you feel good. You've become someone. Now, do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like you have like this is it?
I feel very blessed to be able to have what I have and get to a certain point, especially given the journey that I had to get there. But quite frankly, I'm not really fulfilled. And the reason why is because I was lucky enough to go through this journey of studying from nothing to, where I am today,
Yeah.
because I feel like other people believed in me and gave me that opportunity and that chance to really try to make something out of myself. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think about the kids and the youth in Gambia and other parts of Africa and all over the world, and developing countries especially, where it's not really enough for me to end up at Apple and just be fulfilled and satisfied and content. But until I can see those same opportunities and I can create those same opportunities for kids in Gambia and other parts of Africa, that they can have the same version of their American dream as I have, right? Until they can see themselves working at a company like Apple and Facebook and so on, right? And having successful careers, I feel like I can't really be fulfilled because I've been given an opportunity from others. And
True.
until I see the youth kind of also get the same opportunities as well, all of the colored kids, minority kids, etc. Like it's not enough for us to be fulfilled. We must have to push to try to get the same opportunities and create opportunities for the kids as well. So we can't ever be complacent or content. Until that happens, I think we should continue to push. So I'm not content. I want to have those same opportunities I was given to others. And until that begins to happen, I'm gonna keep pushing.
So keep pushing, keep pushing.
Yes.
I'm going to keep pushing. When we come back, we'll talk about your fascination in the technology world and your plans for a tech hub in Gambia, because you spoke about that, and
Yes.
you can see how much of the plans you got coming up. You're equally part of, you're founder of the Mansa Group. We equally need to know what the Mansa Group is about, and
Sure.
what does it entail, and probably is it an institutional, an organization that eventually people can be part of. You're part of a big project that somewhat has stormed Africa and the rest of the world, which with the announcement that Akon came up with a tech city and that sort of thing. They call it Vibranium.
Yeah,
Just
Project Vibranium.
Project Vibranium. That I feel you are equally part of. So eventually, that's what we're going to talk about when we come back after the break. But guys, if you're joining us, this is Crude with Mr. Momar Njai. You can check him out right there. His handle is underneath Instagram. But if you also want to get the book, it's important. Get yourself a copy. www.shadowofexile.com. Trust me. I've gone a little bit towards the middle, but I haven't. But so far, every time, even I go to work, I'm on my break. I still try to go steal a few pages to read. I was like, man, wait, what happened to him? So it's certainly going to be captivating. It's certainly going to captivate you. So Shadow of Exile, get your copy now, each and every one of you. It's important. But let's get into how Gambian are you, real quick. How Gambian are you?
All right, putting me on the
Okay.
spot here. Here we go.
Come on, big bro. I'm not going to do you bad. It's just simple. Simple. I know you haven't been. So yes. If you want to get the book, I told you, just go to the website www.shadowofexile.com, or you could just go to his page right now. On the top, you see his profile there. Click on his profile, and the link is there. You could get the book as soon as possible.
Yes, and if you're in Gambia, you can get it at Timbuktu bookstores as well. I'm not sure where everyone is, but in case you're
Oh,
in Gambia, you can get it there as well.
so in Timbuktu, right?
Bookstore, yeah, on Carib Avenue.
So let me. This is the second person that's asking. They need to stop asking. Are you family oriented? What's the situation there?
Sorry?
Are you family oriented? Are you
I am very family oriented. Absolutely, absolutely.
you're taken? That means you're married.
I'm single.
So ladies, you heard that he said he's single. So the DMs are open.
The DMs are open, ladies.
Stop bothering me, please. Because I have seen two people that are just, oh yeah, is he single? Yes, he is. Don't worry, I'll do a short bio in Gambia though, just the whole merge, link up, and all of that stuff. You'll be amazed what comes out of it though. So how Gambian are you?
There we go.
So question number one. Now, because you go really way back, so I think you might somewhat have idea and a little knowledge as to some of the happenings back in the days. Do you used to watch the GRTS, right?
Yes, so I was around when it first started. I did watch a little bit of it, yes.
Okay. So there was they were very prominent faces at the time. They were very prominent faces at the time. So can you remember two? You know, like the late 90s, early 2000s GRTS at the time. Like, can you remember anybody that was on TV?
Yes, so I do remember one, Lamin Manga, who's a cousin of mine on
Mhm.
GRTS. That's one, right?
Okay, okay. I was just waiting, and that was part of the answer. Okay, Lamin Manga.
Lamin Manga, definitely. Man, oh my God. I think that's the only one I remember, quite frankly, because, and of course, let's just say this person that I'm not going to name, but he was a political figure and he was on GRTS all the time,
Oh,
more than anyone else I know.
the Voldemort.
So there you go. Two answers for you right there.
Yeah, he was on TV more than
All
any.
the time. Anybody else?
Yeah. Even the
Yes,
commercial breaks were his face.
absolutely.
Yeah, Mbora Boch as well. He was another figure on on GRTS in the late 90s, early.
Nice.
So question number two. Question number two. Name two things found in the National Coat of Arms of the Gambia. You know that nice
Yes.
nice thing, right? So
Yes.
so so
There's a couple of lions
okay, lions.
and there's a shield.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Okay. Yeah. So I thought you probably look for the smaller items, but yes, I think you got that one right there.
Big picture. Big
So
picture.
two lions, an axe, a hoe, and a shield. So
See?
so you got that right. Because you're a genius, I think I had to just bring that out. So when did the Gambia become a republic?
That was, I believe, in 1970. Wait, 65. 65.
No, 65 is when we gained independence.
And then we became a republic in 70.
Yes. Okay. So that is ooh, okay. You are already so that is so basically that is 3 out of 3 so far. Number 4. What is oh okay. So so let me take you back. You know tapalapa, right? The
I do.
the tapalapa bread.
Oh, yes, I do.
So can you describe how it's made? Like the local tapalapa bread. Have you ever seen how it's made, or have you ever heard how it's made?
Yes. Okay, so I've heard how it's made. Some of the things I heard, I think people told me as a kid just to terrify me. I'm not sure. To
Okay.
stay away from tapalapa, but it was like, okay, so it's a really, really thick dough
Yeah.
that they use, and supposedly people insert their feet into this like really big basins of dough, and they make it. I'm like, that doesn't sound very hygienic. So I stayed away from tapalapa, and I ate senfu all the time.
Okay.
But I,
Okay. That okay. No,
not
that
sure how true that was, but at least that's what I was told to keep me away from tapalapa. I still did it like, every once in a while because it tasted pretty good, actually, I must say.
yes, it does. It does. It does.
Especially warm, especially warm.
Trust me, man. Those nights, those are the only things we ate. Tapalapa is
Yes.
very warm. But I think one thing you miss is people like the sweat of the fuller man used to be, and all that drink all
Yeah.
made every.
Added in there to give it extra flavors.
Yeah, so basically, so that those was the added flavor as well, though. So question number 5. So yeah, I give you, so that's 4 out of 4 so far. Question number 5. Name two, so basically, so in those late 2000s or early, yeah, the early 2000, late 1990s, they had drinks that were in sachet that you usually had to just pour in a jar, and it kind of, so it was powdered, and you had to pour the powdered substance into water, and then it became juice, and it was advertised nationwide. Can you remember 2 of those drinks?
In
Oh
Gambia?
yeah, no, it wasn't.
Okay.
I mean, it was important base, but it was big.
Okay, okay, yeah, definitely. From what I remember back in this days, was Kool-Aid was everywhere.
Yeah, so Kool-Aid is the American name, but there was a name.
Version.
There was a name for it.
I don't remember what the Gambian name was though. It's got to be something similar because that was definitely around the same time that we should take Kool-Aid to school every single day. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So that's one wrong. So let me give you the answer. So there was Jolly Juice.
Oh,
Yes, Jolly Juice, and there was Foster Clack.
you got me on that one.
So Foster Clacks was that was everywhere. And babe, Halibi, you're no people, you're humble, you're Vimto, Fanta Vimto, that's not sachet. They don't have sachet in those things. So
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, you mentioned Vimto, man. You're bringing some memories right
yeah,
now.
yeah. Vimto used to be a drink, man.
Yes.
So
Anyone out there who could figure out how to get me some, send it my way.
one of those. Ooh. Okay, so next, number 6. What is the name of the only soap making factory in Gambia that, for your information, has died because the father passed on the company to the son and he didn't survive?
So I went to school with a lot of Sunkum Silas kids. So definitely very familiar with the factory. I don't remember what it was called, but I know that it was a Sankum Sila factory that was the only soap manufacturer in Gambia because, I went to school with his kids and stuff, as I mentioned, but I don't remember the name though.
It's funny how you say the name, but you don't remember the name.
Yeah. Did he really call it him? Is that what it was? Like Sankum Sila?
Sankum Sila and Son.
Sons, that's right. That's right. See?
That's what I'm saying. Sankum Sila and Sons.
Yes. Oh goodness. Yeah, I went.
You had it.
Yes, right? Yes.
So Sankum Sila and Sons.
Very popular.
Very popular. But it's sad. It's sad that we don't really have companies in the country that has stayed through for a period of probably let's say a decade. No.
Absolutely.
We have,
you know what?
companies
the good news is that you have people. We're going to change that. We're going to change that. There's no reason why, no excuse why we shouldn't have manufacturing and factories and all kinds of stuff in Gambia. It's small enough, and we'll talk more about the Mensa Group and what our vision is to try to change some of that.
Okay, so back into it. So I wouldn't ask you what NAWEC stands for. It's just one of those easy questions.
I've heard all kinds of different definitions. I'm not going to even get into.
So what?
We need to get it together, NAWEC.
What does the abbreviation NAWEC stands for?
Let's see.
Wow.
Hang on, let me think about this for a second. It's like national something. But we had our own definitions of NAWEC, quite frankly. Just like it used to be called GUC at the time, and the joke was Gambians use candles or something at the time because they were never really able to provide constant electricity supply. But yeah, I don't remember the abbreviation for NAWEC because it was just one of those things that I didn't really pay much attention to because ultimately they didn't really provide good electricity anyway.
Comment section association, because I have like a comment section association. I have people that don't say they are having their own conversation in the whole
yes,
like doing the whole show, like they're just chilling and just talking about whatever it is. Y'all supposed to be helping him out.
I know. Like, come on, people. Help a fellow Gambian out here.
Come on, you're trying, all of you that were out here acting and asking about DMs and whatnot. Fatima Halebi, yo hamulo, dara, yo smaller like it. So let's not. You don't even think. So now make one more try. You want to give it one try? So,
yeah, let me give it a try. So National Association Water Electricity Corporation, maybe something like that, those lines.
Where it come from?
Pretty close. No, one second, Timmy. I just wrote it out and kind of spelled it out.
Association.
I gotta see it. I don't know. I'll just kind of... It definitely doesn't feel like it sometimes,
Okay, so it's National Water and Electricity Company.
Ah.
That's it.
Now I see it in the comments.
Exactly.
Thank you, Donkor. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you got to read. You got to read through though. They give you answers all the. They
Yes.
make it easy for you to cheat. It's not a good thing. Denton Bridge. We have 3 more questions. Denton Bridge has another name. Do you know what name that is? There's another name for Denton Bridge.
When I was around, it definitely was called Denton Bridge. I know there was a new one that was built on the left side of it, but I thought that name was the same.
Okay.
All right, I'm looking at I'm looking at the comments right now, ladies.
Oh, you don't know. You don't.
If you want me to return your DM back, I think giving me the answers may kind of put you on edge a little bit.
It's okay. So if you don't see them replying, just know that they don't know themselves. So
Yeah.
they all act like yes, they're busy doing something important.
Uh-huh.
But the answer is subtle.
Subtle. Okay. Yeah, that must be a new one after I left then.
Subtle. Question number 9. I don't think you should. You should know this. This is easy. The first newspaper in Gambia.
The first newspaper in Gambia, it's going to be between The Point or The Observer that I remember anyway. One of those two, like national.
The Observer, because Observer came with Jammeh.
Okay. So that was probably before my time then. Because Observer was very popular. The Point was really, really popular. Yeah, those are the two that I remember anyway during my generation.
The first newspaper in Gambia was called The Independent.
The Independent.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much exposure to that at all. That was probably before my time.
Oh, so Point is not. I know Point is factual. Is very interactive. It's reader friendly. But it's not the first. So the Independent.
But I will say the Observer though did a really good job with distribution. I feel like because they were everywhere all of a sudden, during that time, and it seemed like they were the only one out there because they had so much marketing and so much distribution all over Gambia. That was pretty innovative, I think, for them to do that.
Okay. All right, good. So to date, final question. This one is this just offhand like that. If you have your nice friends, your bougie friends, and they want to visit the country, and they asked you 2 places that you would recommend, where would that be in Gambia?
In Gambia, wow. Okay, so definitely my childhood memory brings me back to the Abuko Nature Reserve.
Okay.
So Abuko, beautiful memories there. Lots of
Beautiful
really
memories.
cool things.
Nothing in Abuko anymore.
What the heck? What happened?
No, the birds are gone. The lions are dead.
Oh my goodness.
People don't we don't know what happened to the hyenas. I think it's just monkeys that are left in Abuko. So
okay, so Gambia, we got to do better. Okay, so that's one place.
Okay, so monkeys.
Another place I would definitely take them to is to look at the crocodiles at Kajikali. Hopefully that's still there. Hopefully, right?
Well, yes, I think the white crocodile kind of escaped. So there's a myth that there's a white crocodile, and the white crocodile is like a good luck charm, sort of like if you pray to it, whatever you are. I mean, whatever the prayer is, eventually comes to pass. So, but for the past decade, nobody has seen the white crocodile. So there's been, it's either she went to the mystic world or probably somebody stole them in the middle of the night. But yes, but definitely Kachikali is a beautiful place to visit. We have numerous others. That's what I'm saying. Ladies, get in those DMs. Get our brother back into the system.
Yes, definitely arrange something. I'll be visiting soon, and if you think of some really cool places to visit, let me know. DM me.
No problem. I'll certainly do that. But yes, that's the end. That's the end of How Gambian Are You? Do you feel like you've achieved anything? You've learned something today?
Yes, learned a lot. I feel like I still remember a lot of things about growing up there, etc. In some ways, I might have touched about certain other areas as well, but this is what I have my people to help me out with as well. So I appreciate that.
All right. But yes, Momar Njai right here, a son of the land, a son of the Gambia. Um, into your work. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, you're working with Apple. You're currently equally with a side work, or side gig. I don't know if you want to call it a side gig, but it's also like your personal business, your baby right there. That's the Mansa Group. Just briefly, tell us a little bit about Mansa Group and what it entails, and probably some of the projects that you have coming up.
Yeah, so Monster Group is a collective of some really, really cool, innovative companies that wants to transform not just Gambia, but Africa as a whole. So all the different things that I talked about, equal opportunity and, all the different options I was given as a kid here to try to make it and be successful, I want to replicate those same things as well for youth and other people in Gambia and other parts of Africa as well. So the vision
Mhm.
for the Munster Group is to be the Amazon of Africa, where we will basically have an overarching company, and then there's 35 different companies under that participate across multiple industries in Africa. And the
Mhm.
vision is to be in every major city in every African country. I want us to create over 1 million jobs in the next 20 years. It's going to be a lot of work for us, but we'll get there eventually. And yeah, we basically use cutting edge technology from Silicon Valley, which is where I'm based. And what we do is harness this energy and technology and talent when it comes to engineering to really solve really difficult issues and problems in Gambia and other parts of Africa. So basically, example is, transportation, for example, or agriculture or energy, for example, like really, really food, healthcare, education, etc. So we bring in experts with technology and we try to figure out how can we use technology to really make things more efficient, to reduce costs, increase profits, and basically use that as a way to kind of bypass some of the red tape that you can kind of see sometimes when you're dealing with Africa when it comes to politics and things like that.
Sure.
But it's our mission to create over 1 million jobs and really become the Amazon of Africa, where ultimately we'll be in a lot of different sectors and really drive economic growth and really propel Africa forward, and then starting with Gambia and then expand to other parts of Africa as well. So that's the vision. It's a lot of work, like I mentioned, but it can be done though.
For
I mean, think
sure.
about it. So I go to work at a beautiful campus before COVID, of course, and I do ask myself, instead of just like capturing on and enjoying it, like, would it be really cool if Africa had this as well? It would be really cool if we had like a really beautiful campus in Gambia, for example, if we had a really cool city in Senegal, et cetera, et cetera. Like we can replicate those some things because we have people like myself, like you and others that have all these experience and knowledge and know-how. And honestly, Africa's our home, right? We have to use everything that we've learned over here to try to give back and really make our own contributions towards the economy and really help elevate the people there and take over 1 billion people right now and sort of elevate them from wherever they are right now to like, middle class or even higher. And that creates a lot of opportunity for us. So that's why the Monster Group was kind of formed to use technology and really take advantage of it.
Now, there is one. There's one. There's this. What's the word? There's this approach that Africans have in terms of the love that they have towards Africa, the continent, which is somewhat basing it always on what the problem is, rather than looking towards what the solutions are or could be, or eventually how we could change things.
Right.
We know what the problems is, or what the problems are. I have always had this conversation with friends where we talk about for example, the African Union. The presidents that founded the independence, those people that were in power, the conversations that they had 50, 60 years ago is the conversation that our current presidents are going back to the African Union meeting to
Mm-hmm.
talk about. Now, if we are somewhat going to have power, this eventually should not replicate. It should not be the same conversation where we're going to have about crossing boundaries, and the list goes on as to what Africa's problems are. But eventually, just looking forward as to how can we change to becoming better. And I certainly love your idea. Is that equally the same with the Project Vibranium?
Yeah, it is the same thing. And the mindset, the philosophy, the whole genesis behind the Munster Group and Project Vibranium is to look at things very differently.
Hmm.
Not in a vacuum, but basically to take what's already there and kind of really build on it. But at the same time, I feel like for countries like Gambia and a lot of other countries in Africa to really make a lot of progress, it's like we have to completely change our paradigm because we can't be thinking of the same way that we've been thinking for the last 50 years because it hasn't really gotten us anywhere, or we could be a lot further, right? So in certain cases, honestly, we have to like start over from scratch. You know, if you think of places like Dubai, for example, or Vegas or anywhere, the Philippines, Singapore, etc., it's like these places have been built up over 15 to 20 years. And sometimes it's better off where you're starting with a clean slate and kind of building and planning it out from scratch than trying to build on something that has all of this kind of old mindset, old infrastructure, and basically we try to use technology as a weapon to try to help us bypass some of the status quo or the red tape or the politics or the mindset that have kind of held Africa back to a certain point where we're going to come in with new ideas. You know, not all Western ideas per se. It's like we collaborate with people that are there locally that know the economies pretty well. We're not just coming in and say, okay, we're from the West. We're going to do this exactly right.
True, true.
That, of course, isn't going to work,
Yeah.
but it's about partnership. And ultimately, I think the most important thing is what the overall objective is and the intention behind it. Because ultimately, you know, like, as I mentioned, for me, you know, I've done well. I don't have to worry about certain things anymore. But it's not enough for me to say, okay, I've done well for myself, and then, you know, right off into the sunset or something. Like, how can I create those same opportunities for youth in Gambia and other places for them to have something to aspire to as well? And I think if the intention there is, you know, let's try to elevate the people. Let's make sure we put them first, right? And not ourselves, not the politics, not the business, not the corruption, not, which is why Africa's been kind of held back. It's like we have so much wealth and so much resources, but it's not really shared, right? It's not really shared with the masses. It makes no sense for us to have, you know, a few people with hundreds of billions of dollars, for example, and then the rest of the population is like in poverty, where an average person can't even get access to basic healthcare or affordable food, et cetera. Like we have to kind of spread it out a little bit. And I think because of the intention of Montague Project Vibranium is really, really pure in my sense,
Yeah.
and that we're going to put the people first. If we take care of them, they'll take care of us. Like we don't have to worry about, you know, revenues or growth or profit. And if you think of a company like Apple, for example, and I've been there for a long time,
Hmm.
one of the key secrets is putting the customer first, focus on the product and services, and not being caught up about profit. Because if you take care of the basic things, everything else will fall into place. And I think for us, it's the same philosophy as well. If we approach business with the people first, if we're making sure that they're protected, if we put the environment first, if we put jobs first, it's going to help us. And I think we're going to go a long way. And that's how we need to do business in Africa for us to really grow and do well as a company. And I feel like Vibranium, the Muncher Group, has a really good baseline to kind of start from. And we're going to make sure that the people there are kind of protected. So, for example, we're not going to do business with companies that want to come in and just like completely extract all the resources out of Africa. They want to bring in employment from other places, not really employ the youth there, et cetera. Like, we're not going to do business with people like that. You know, it's going to be only companies, only institutions, only governments that really put the people first. We're not going to deal with politicians that are corrupt. We're not going to deal with politicians that are like self-centered. We're not going to deal with any of that stuff. Like, it's going to be a clean slate for us, and that's going to be our philosophy. And before you can be part of the Muncher Group from an employee perspective, we're going to do a lot of screening. We're going to do a lot of checking. We're going to do a lot of conversations. I kind of screen everyone just to make sure that your philosophy is really aligned, because Africa has been through so much. Our people have been suffering for so long. Like, there's this sense of injustice that I feel like we have. It makes no sense for us to have all these resources and yet we still have people living in poverty. That needs to change, you know. And if you subscribe to that mindset, you are with the Vibranium project. You are with the Muncher Group. That's what we're about. But if you're just into yourself and you're okay with the fact that we still continue to be rich in resources, but also poor in other ways, like that's just not people that we want to entertain. We want to looking for people with a positive mindset that want to bring change, that are really passionate about Africa, and that's what we look for. So
It's beautiful, and just hearing how you state it is it's mind blowing. Let me just say it, because I feel if we don't change this, certainly it's going to be another tedious job for our kids to kind of pick up the mantle, eventually start from scratch. Because right now, there's no way we eventually have to start building if not from the foundation. Because anything you are going to put, you want to put a project on at this particular point with the current governments and mindset that are ongoing in the country, anywhere in Africa, it's certainly going to.
yes.
So it has to be just starting from the foundation and building it all the way right up. Just the mindset is sort of started from schools, and basically just allow young people to believe in themselves and create room for them to excel. If not,
Absolutely.
we're certainly just going to we'll eventually just remain in this virtuous cycle. You have Akon as a mentor, and you said that a couple of times as a role model. This the pictures of him on your profile and him giving you a shout out and all of that. Now, how how exactly? I think what exactly is he doing that you feel is positive, and equally every celebrity that has a voice, that has an African following, should be doing?
Yeah, he's a definitely an amazing, person I look up to all the time, and I am really inspired by the things that he's doing. And what I really like about Akon on his journey is that he basically started off, he got in trouble, etc. And he did all the rap thing. He got in the game. He made some money, etc. But you know what? He never really forgot about his people. And when he got to that point, he had all the money in the world. He had the fame. He had, all the girls and all the whatever, the rap game thing, right?
Hmm.
But ultimately, what he realized his purpose was giving back as well, right? We know a lot of people that have done well, that are in the rap game, etc. But you don't see them building $6 billion, cities, right? And I think it has to do with the mindset and how he grew up, and sort of hearing him talk about the fact that, he grew up as a poor kid in Dakar, and they didn't have access to electricity, for example. He was been there. He lived that life, right? So this is why he did the Lighting Africa project, right? And because that was him, he never really forgot about that. Even after he had everything, it's like, hey, what can I do to give back? There's like, hundreds of millions of people out there with no electricity. Let me kind of get that, right? So now he's taking things with the next level with building a city. It's like $6 billion city, but it's like using your platform to kind of help drive change, especially where you're from. It's something I really admire about him, and
Hmm.
just kind of taking things to the next level. So it's always good to see a shout out from him, whether it's a book or him like, giving some shout out to Project Vibranium, because he's doing it with some really amazing things. He's fulfilling his destiny, and it takes a while sometimes to kind of figure it out, because maybe at first he thought it was just like the rap game and the rapper, but then once he had all the success, it's like, no, he needs to do more, because he goes to people or countries like Gambia and Senegal, and you see that poverty or you see that struggle, and then you do ask yourself, hey, what can I do to kind of give back? So that's one thing I really admire about him, and we definitely will be using some of the things that he's doing to drive or use as a blueprint for some of the stuff that we're doing as well. And at some point, hopefully our projects can intersect, because he's doing Akon City, for example. We
Hmm.
could probably use some of that blueprint for Gambia as well, for example, and other countries, because he's going to need some help. I'm going to need some help,
True.
but it's all about everyone kind of pitching in whatever way that they can, and ultimately putting Africa first. And the more that we do that collectively, it will all work out for everybody.
Very, very true. But thank you so much, B, for joining us. I mean, my my daughter's namesake just joined. She's grandma, everything, and I love it when she joins our conversations.
Sure.
But briefly before we begin to decline, the book Shadow of Exile. You found yourself from a nobody to an author. That is that's impeccable. Let me just say that is
Thank
terrific.
you.
Just what I'm saying. They could have not. They couldn't have been any better way to put that. So the book. Let me just ask you. I wanted to come from you. Now, why did you, why did you feel that there was a need for a creative touch to that story, to the story of an African king, the
Yes.
the exile? Like, why do you think? Why is there? Because it's not just an autobiography. It's a story. It's like you're a playwright right there.
Yeah, I've always been a very methodical, I guess, deep person, and maybe that has to do with growing up in Gambia and in Africa, where we don't always just like do stuff on the surface, really think through stuff, right?
Mhm.
So the reason why I decided to kind of put it out there is because growing up as a kid in Gambia, I was always fascinated about our history, quite frankly, and reading about Mansa Musa and African history and the empires back in the days and Sundiata Keita and all this other fascinating stuff about Africa that I feel like for the most part is kind of missing, right? We need a narrative because we're taught in schools about Columbus and all this other stuff, but how often are we really taught about our own greatness and our own legacy and history? So what I did in the book was basically do this tie-in between my fascination about African history and going back to the 14th century Mansa Musa and tying it to my own kind of life story and connecting the two into one beautiful storyline. So what I did was the prologue kind of begins
Yeah.
all the way back in ancient times during the timing of the Mansa Musa
True.
Empire, and then it kind of fast forwards to the present day where this young African prince, he is a descendant of Mansa Musa going back from the 14th century,
Yes.
and it kind of starts off with the backdrop and all this other stuff. But it was like my way of kind of reimagining what Africa was like during those times, and then bringing the audience and the readers into the present day. And that's when the story really, really begins. And there's so much in there about the things that we talked about already about growth and opportunity and wealth and stuff. Because during those times, man, we didn't have the issues that we do today about famine and poverty and disease and all this other stuff. Yes, we made progress, but there was a time that Africa was really the prime place to be, that scholars were sent just to even learn about civilization, right? What
True.
happened to all that stuff? We lost it somehow, and there's a way for us to kind of get it back and kind of reclaim our glory. So the title of the book, the subtitle, Return of the African King,
Hmm.
is really a testament to sort of a reimagination of what Mansa Musa was back in the day, how he became who he was, and basically that kind of journey and backstory. And it kind of goes from there. So it's pretty deep title.
It,
But
it, I mean, Shadow of Exile, Return of the African King, right here. I told you guys, you need to get your own copy. This is mine right here.
pretty deep.
Signed by the author himself. It's a good read. It's a good read. But I think what's fascinating as well is you are able you speak of spirituality, and you highlight the importance of family as well. Now, family, not a sense of nepotism type of, oh, I'm the father, this is my son, he has to be in charge. But looking close, close family as well, even if there's a nephew, and just the way that the transfer of power, just in the beginning, just right there in the beginning, just a transfer of power. It's important, and he sees how everything basically begins to build up to the rest of the story. Now, my question is, we currently see a switch between the culture of Africa and technology and globalization, and and that interrelation that some way somehow has to find balance. To you as an author and someone that actually with experience that you have now, where can we find a merging point? Where can we find space to just connect the two? Because a lot of people are losing, like yourself. I mean, it's one thing to be in one part of the continent, but equally just maintain those values and
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think as you mentioned, it's about, how do we connect those? I think it's about taking as many steps that you can to still be rooted or connected to your culture and not really losing yourself completely where you're completely disconnected from your reality or your culture, and that you take on other habits or other things that are not really you. So I think we all sort of, as you embark on your journey through life, right? It's about always kind of checking in to make sure that you're not going too far off track, whether it's something as simple as, speaking Wolof. So all throughout the time, I made sure that I speak Wolof sometimes, with my family and stuff, and speaking English to other folks as well. But, trying to visit or setting in certain settings that kind of remind you of your childhood, you can kind of just feel at home sometimes. You don't want to be in a situation where you're so disconnected from that, where people sometimes feel like, oh my God, so I'm in America now. I don't want to be close to, people of the same country, et cetera. I just want to immerse myself and not have anything to do with someone from Africa or whatever. It's like, you don't want to ever go down that path, because you are going to lose yourself in the process. Because if you don't really know who you are, then anywhere will go, right? Anyone will do. So basically, it's about just doing enough to really kind of push yourself to kind of change and get out of your comfort zone, but also just kind of checking in and make sure that you don't get really too far off track, but also maybe having that trusted, partner, mentor, or whatever you want to call it, just to kind of check in, because I have seen a lot of people lose themselves in the process. And I'm not saying that you can't be westernized or you can't take on a different language or stuff, but always kind of check in, see what's going on. There's YouTube, there's the internet these days for you to check in, like myself. I mean, I'm not in Gambia, obviously, I've only been there a couple of times, but I try to follow on Facebook. I try to follow the news sometimes. I follow what's going on. So I'm not completely disconnected from reality. And I think I encourage people to kind of do that as well so they don't lose themselves in the process. So ultimately what you have is someone that's still very much cultured. So we're not going to do the same things that our parents would get us in trouble if we did, as you know, right? It's all about respect for the elderly and all these things that I don't feel like it's always shared across other places that you may go, but also embracing the new things as well and kind of having that middle ground. And I feel like for the most part, we seem to be doing a pretty good job with that center of balance between, the new you and also the cultured you as well. And I think the two can definitely coexist together.
That is beautiful. Now, what from the book itself, as the author, I mean, you've shared your story, but what's one message that you have that you feel like you have gotten off your shoulders from writing this book?
Definitely a lot of messages. The most important thing for me is really humanizing the immigrant experience and the immigrant journey. Like that's the most important thing. Immigration is a very controversial topic. It always will be.
True.
It's a highly politicized topic. There's always this talk about it, etc. But at the end of the day, when you read the book and you go through this experience of, the main character who had all this really good life, etc., following some, a series of tragic events, he's having to go through and kind of find himself, right? What you realize is at the end of the day, those are not immigrants, that they're ultimately people just like you. We're all human, right? And regardless of what's going on in the political space or in the headlines about immigration, all this controversy, at the end of the day, we're all immigrants and we're people first more than anything else. We have the same needs as everybody else. We have the same desires as everybody else. We have the same challenges as everyone else. And instead of seeing a person as an immigrant, that the readers basically see themselves or see that as a person first more than anything else. And that's the most beautiful thing I can get as an author on feedback, is hearing someone say, wow, I had no idea how difficult it was for immigrants in this country. Or I had no idea how difficult it is for you guys to go through this. I had no idea that if you don't have an identity, it's so hard for you to do anything, that you can't even go to school, you can't open a bank account, you can't do all these other things. And I now have a better appreciation for what you guys go through. Or there'll be something like, oh, now that I know how difficult it is, I have, opportunities I didn't realize I could take advantage of. And kind of seeing have that conversation in people's mindset, it's a beautiful thing, You can't really ask for more than that. And having someone walk up to you and say, you know what, I had no idea how privileged I was.
True. That's the only way you can be grateful. That's the only way you
absolutely
can for everything that you have. So we have a gentleman that's talking about his new book coming out on the 10th of October 2020. I think so. He said The Ship That Returned. All right. I mean, just send me a link as well in the DM once it's out. You can equally get in contact with him. Certainly, there's the ideas that you both can share. We have Fanta saying we sold our civilization for what we thought was better, just to realize what we had was the best. Very, very true. Yeah, so definitely they're gonna get a copy. Mom BB saying that yes, we need to support our own talented. Trust me.
Yes.
It's important. It's important that we know who is who. That's equally why I just do this. I spend the whole week just working and going about but I look forward to conversations during the weekend like these to kind of give you a perspective and just open your mind as to how better tomorrow could be. So it's certainly an honor getting to talk to you. But quickly, 2 questions before we write out. First question: do you have a Senegambian playlist?
I do have a Senegambian playlist.
So give me your top 5.
Oh God, it's a little old, but it's got Chon Seka in there. It's got Youssou N'Dour. It's got Baba Mal. It's got Alpha Blondie.
Hmm.
And I'm dating myself a little bit. I've got Burna Boy in there. I know he's like more Nigerian, but
It's okay. It's just,
you
um,
know,
uh,
I try to
have
keep
you
in
heard
touch.
any Gambian artists? Any?
Um, let's see here. It's been a while. Oh my God, he's not around anymore. I forgot his name. Passed away. He used to do reggae. Demba Konta, right? He's still around
Yes, yes, yes,
from
yes.
way back in the day. Yeah, yeah. I still got some of his old stuff, man. Like United States of Africa. Remember that?
Ooh, yo, moyo.
Yeah.
No, no, no. Them, bro. Oh my lord.
Yes.
Okay, okay. That's a. But do you know any recent artists?
Not any recent art. Oh, actually, you know what? I do know one. I am. What's this guy's name? He's a very popular Jalaba Koita, right?
Yes.
His son. Can't think of his name right now. I've followed him a little bit and seen some of his stuff. Looks like he's got some really good talent.
Well,
Following in such footsteps of his dad, but I don't know his name. But
check out.
Jalaba Koita's son.
You should check out Sura Suso. He's pretty nice as well.
I will.
He was somewhere in the comment section. He dropped some emoji and he apologized.
Oh,
Check out Sura Suso. He
all
is
right.
phenomenal. Amazing Kora maestro right there.
Beautiful.
There's Sona Jobate. I mean, if you're into classical African, and these are Gambians though.
Yeah.
So very mature. Senabu C as well. She's in Sweden doing amazingly well. She's like on the big stage. So we
Oh,
have prolific. So back home we have ST, Brikama Boyo, we have Jizzle, and the list goes on. I mean I feel if you go through Instagram, there's so many of them over there. Uh,
yeah.
final question. Um, Final question before somebody knocks my head off. They said I didn't give them chance to ask questions. So so I'll give you. So if you have a question, just send me the question real quick. I'll have to pose the question to him. So what's your purpose?
My purpose is to propel Africa and Gambia forward and to create equal opportunity for every person there. That's my purpose. Whether it's Project Vibranium, whether it's a mentor group, ultimately, I want us to be like a very well-known country, a prime example that Africa can kind of look up to. If you think about it, I want us to transform Gambia into like a Wakanda. And there's no reason why we can't do it. And I feel like whatever it is that I have to do to elevate this country that I love and care so much about, of 2 million people, and if I could do that, like with my team and the support, and we look back in the next 15 to 20 years and say, you know what, we've taken this country that didn't have a whole lot in terms of like resources and structure, or maybe had a lot of challenges and stuff, and we've been able to create jobs, we've been able to transfer the economy from like one that's really highly resistant on tourism or dependent on tourism and agriculture to services, technology, and really turn it into like a mecca or prime destination. Like that would be amazing. So that's my purpose. That's what I'm going to work on.
Beautiful, beautiful. So questions. Someone's. We have Neo is saying that you should check out Seiko Keita. He has a Cuban album with Omar Su
Okay.
and jazz pianist. Beautiful stuff.
Thank you.
Question, real quick. Anyone? One last question. One last question before this gentleman that has borrowed me his time this Sunday. I am super grateful. It is one thing. It's one thing to just to have conversations online, but it's one thing to have important people. Do you understand? Like I just don't want to go on live and then that's it. And just talk and talk nonsense. But he's doing. I mean, what he's doing for people, and also basically. So what are you doing for Gambian folks? That's a question.
Yeah, so I definitely do a lot of donations. I do a lot of private drives. I try to do it privately as much as possible, but I basically donate a lot of stuff when I see people on Facebook, for example, or social media that need some help with, medication, or they need some help with, surgeries, or whether it's masks and things like that. Little things like that I try to do. I also try to talk to the youth a lot. I get a lot of messages about, oh my God, how did you do it? What do I need to do to get started? So kind of mentoring the youth of Gambia to try to figure out how they can also be successful as well, a lot of mentoring and stuff. And I'm going to continue to do that. I think a lot of stuff we have right now in the works will probably be a lot more visible in the next few years as more and more comes. But you'll definitely see a lot more activity with the Munster Group, and really we'll be able to create like a lot of different kind of jobs and things like that here in the next few years that you guys can definitely see. So more to come.
Okay, so certainly more to come. Thank you so much, Fanta, for that question right there. But yes, this one just came in. What would you do? Okay, when you look at Gambia now, what's the one thing that gives you hope? That's from Dr. Ishmael Baji, and I feel this is one person you equally need to link up with as well.
For sure.
Yes, you need to link up with him as well. So yeah, so what's the one thing that gives you hope about Gambia?
You know, one thing that gives me hope, among other things, is just recognizing this unique opportunity that we have right now, where the political situation, as it was before, during the previous administration, kind of made it really, really challenging to really do anything for the most part, quite frankly, because it was kind of on lockdown, if you think about it, right? The country was pretty much closed to investment and things like that. But now we're in a new place, we're in a new space. There's a huge, huge opportunity where we can kind of write our own future, right? And that wasn't there for 20 plus years. We didn't have that anymore, right? So now that we do, it's very, very important for us to recognize this and to make sure that we basically work together as Gambians to try to pitch in and share ideas. And really, really appreciate you doing things like this, for example, to connect all of us together because we're all from Gambia. We're all want the same for the country, right? And making sure that we take advantage of this unique opportunity because we don't want to see another 22 plus years of kind of repeating the same stuff, right? This is a very limited opportunity for us to really do something and kind of transform this very small country, 2 million people, that's all we have, right? I mean, it can be done, right? The possibility is there. We have the will, we have the people, we have the talent, we have the experience, we have the diaspora everywhere. And just knowing we have all those different things, and if we put it together, like I really truly believe we could make it happen. And it's up to us to really kind of push forward. And that's what gives me hope. It's just that we have the opportunity that we never otherwise did. And it's all about what we do with it. Like we can't be arguing about, situation. We can't be fighting each other. We can't be, like sabotaging each other. We have to continue to support each other because at the end of the day, it's all Gambia for all of us. And the more that we do that, the more the Gambia could do better. And we're all going to do well in the process. So that's what gives me hope.
You heard it right there. That's from Momar Njai. Check him out on Instagram at Momar Njai, on Twitter the same as well, or go to get the book. Get that book. I'm going to repeat. Shadow of Exile is actually the link is on his bio, or you could go to www.shadowofexile.com. I want to say thank you so much for this time, and I certainly wish you well. I can't wait for when we're eventually all going to just connect and make great things happen. I appreciate the time, but I'll try and make sure that, look, like I said right now, we'll have Dr. Ishmael Baju, and I know he's going to DM you, and I think you guys are eventually going
for sure.
To be great partners. There's so many other people that are doing amazing well. We had, we have Bobo right here as well. She's into a different field, but these are people that, so every Gambian out here is doing well. We have Fatima Halibi as well. That's into fitness and health and health.
Awesome.
Just the body well-being and all of that. So we're trying the little that we can to just connect and become great. So I want to say thank you so much. I want to say thank you so much for the time. I want to say thank you so much for being understanding and on. You see that? See that? This is what.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what I have to deal with.
Yeah, no worries. It's all good. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Danny, for everything that you do and for having me on. And of course, thanks everyone for tuning in, for supporting the book, and for supporting me. Let's continue to do that, and let's continue to support each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's keep in touch.
Thank you so much.
Feel free to DM me if you didn't get a chance to ask your questions or anything like that. I'm happy to get back with you guys as much as I can.
No problem. So DM him. He is open. He's certainly going to answer all your questions. Thank you so much. Get the book, guys. Get the book. Get the book. It's my. I mean, I feel like it will feed you at times as 2020 is trying to blow our minds down. But stay safe and God bless.
Thanks, everybody. See you guys.
Thank you, guys. I love y'all. I'll see you next week. God bless.